to another lesson. In the first part of this series, we talked about how you can use name method to access properties of an object, and we also talked about using a for input, a type of loop that is specific to working with objects in JavaScript, and we're able to see how the for loop extracted the values of properties in our loop that we did in the last lesson. And in this lesson, I want to quickly show us the other two solutions through which we can through which we can use through which you can access object properties in JavaScript. And these are very important when it comes to displaying the object properties in JavaScript. Don't forget that we've been talking a lot about object and then the different things that we can do with objects, because as you continue to work a lot with JavaScript, you are obviously going to see that everything in JavaScript is object. So it makes work easy and allow you to be able to bundle things together, similar things together, and to be able to work with them. So in this lesson, let's just quickly look at the other two methods, which are the using object values and also the JSON stringify. So let's dive in by showing an example of what that means. So it's what we have on my screen. I'm just going to clear this part and then I will leave this one, which is just a simple declaration of an object. Now, object values creates an array from the property value. So when you use object value in this lesson, like I said, we're working with object values method. So built-in method when working with objects in JavaScript. So how to display object properties. Okay, good. So I'm correcting that in order not to create a confusion. So how do we use the object values method in JavaScript? So the object value method creates an array from the property value. So let's say we have this as our object, as you can see on my screen. And then I want to create an array from the properties. Do not forget that it has been said earlier that object value creates an array from the property values. How do we do it? Now I can just assign that to maybe a variable and then call the method object.values. Then I'll pass in my objects this way, and then I can come here down below it and then convert it into a string. I want to convert my array into a string so that I'll be able to access it. Let result equals to JSON.stringify. And what am I trying to convert into an array? My array variable that I have earlier. And I can do my normal document.get as a result. And then you can see this now that in my screen I am getting West 20 and W. And just take a look at the kind of example, the kind of output that I am getting. You see that this is different from the way you get the normal string on your screen, and that is because of this JSON stringify method through which I'm converting my array into a string for accessibility in object. And as we proceed, you are going to see why JSON stringify is important and why object values need to be converted to string. So for the purpose of maybe when you want to pass it to the server as an API, or you need to do things that has to do with local storage in JavaScript. So you may not you are not always able to store your object values directly, and that is the reason why you always need to pass it using a way like this JSON stringify in order to pass it. So this is how you use object value as another method to display objects in JavaScript. See what we just did here. So this is our object. Then we are calling the method on our object, and the object is what is inside this bracket, which is the person assigned to this variable, and then this variable is what I am passing with this JSON stringify in order to give me a result, as you can see on my screen. And the other method, which is the last one that we are going to be talking about, is the JSON stringify itself. Now you see how we use JSON stringify when working with object values. Now let's work with the JSON stringify itself and see what it does and what it helps us do in JavaScript. But before we do that, I quickly want to point out some things about object values. Note that object values is a built-in JavaScript method, just like other JavaScript built-in method that we have that we've talked about in the past. So what it does is that it helps to collect all the value of an object into an array, and then in the same order in which they appear, which means that the way it is being arranged in it sequentially is how it collects them into an array and in the same order that they appear. And then it gives the values and not property name. So the output of what you get is always the value and not the property name. So there's another built-in method I quickly want to show before we move into JSON stringify, and that is called object entries. Just as we have object values as a JavaScript built-in method when working with objects, we also have object entries. Object entry make it simple to use objects in loop, but it's a more powerful way when working with objects in JavaScript. Let's quickly take a look at what it does and how it works. So let me quickly make something an object this way and say okay, bananas 400, oranges 200, and apple 1000. So this is my object. I'm just putting it on a straight line so I can start to break it into different rows. So I want to loop over this thing, and this is where I want my loop results to be. So an empty string this way, comma, an empty string which will be like this, and then I can loop for let. And the way I'm looping in this video is that I am going to be using the structure. I don't think we've talked about that concept, but as we proceed, we'll see what the structuring is. So it's just like taking values that you need for something. So then I'll pass in what I want to loop over, which is my object. Fruit, the name of the object is fruit, and then I can just move on and do uh, text plus equals fruit those amounts of yeah, break, and then I can just come outside this place to get my text. Okay, I think I'm missing something. Okay, let me just check for what I'm missing. Uncaught error, object fruit is not attributable. Okay, sorry, it's not this normal bracket, not a square bracket. I'm supposed to use the normal bracket like this. Yeah, as you can see now. Now take a look at the output that I'm getting. Now I'm able to get each of my properties and its corresponding value. See bananas 400, oranges 200, and apple 1000. Now object entries on its own, it return an array of arrays. So unlike object values that return just values and not the property, the object entries on its own as a JavaScript built-in method when working with object returns both returns array of an array. So what is doing as the output is something like this. So it's doing something like this: bananas 400, which is an array inside an array on its own when you loop over it using the for of for of loop with this method in JavaScript. I know this might take time to grab to the reality of it, but I would just suggest that you rewatch the video and then study how we constructed the loop that we have here till we were able to get this output. So you can work with it, and don't forget that you are bound to always make mistake. I just did mine now, and with the help of console.log, I was able to figure out what was wrong, and correcting it just gave me the correct output. So this is object entries, another JavaScript built-in method when working with object in JavaScript. And now we can now move on to JSON stringify, which as another solution of displaying objects in JavaScript. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.